Hello everyone, welcome to TPNN, the Profile Netcasting Network, broadcasting from the Profile in beautiful downtown Vancouver. Brought to you by Mr. Taxes. Visit them at mrtaxes.ca. You're listening to The Allan Knight Show, your business communications coach.
Hello everyone, Allan Knight here on the Profile Netcasting Network. TPNN. First time I got it, Mike. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Michael Zahora, our producer in studio every Thursday, 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, Allan Knight Show. It's all about entrepreneurship. It's all about communication. It's all about business communication. We need to practice the art of communication to build our business on a daily basis. So every week we have a show that I'd say 75% of the time we will have a guest, and 25% of the time it will be myself focusing on responding to some of the training tips that are needed out there that people are asking me for. And today is one of those days. Mike, before we start, how's everything with you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. How is life with video? Any updates on you and I are always talking about YouTube. And by the way, we talked the other day about the fact that Google changed some of their stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I went online. They forced me to change the banner. I can't even use my nice banner now. Did you notice that they have a new look and feel?
I have not. Is that on your YouTube channel?
That's right.
Yeah. You basically what YouTube is changing the look of the channels now.
Right.
Actually, it's a good idea for you to follow their new banner guidelines.
Right.
Because the new look of the site actually increases your subscribers substantially.
Oh, really?
That's why they're doing it. They found that this new look actually works better for the YouTubers out there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
It's good because I had a nicer look and it doesn't look as sexy, and I'm going to have a new banner put on. But I knew that there must have been a reason why they did that, and you're just explaining it now.
Yep, that's the reason.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, the channels actually get more people involved in your channel, watching more of your videos, getting more views, more subscribers, so on and so forth. And that's the reason.
So let's say we have 100 subscribers that signed in, they subscribed to YouTube. We do a show and we upload it to YouTube. Does every one of those 100 subscribers get a message such and such has just come in?
Basically what ends up happening is when they go on to YouTube, right, they'll actually go on to the main page or whatever, and on that main page will show their subscriber list and how many new videos they've got and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Right, so they will actually be able to see if you have a new video up.
Right. So if I've got 100 subscribers and more of them really turn on to the quality of the shows and the content on the video, they're kind of looking out for that. And by the way, do they have the ability to share that with others?
Oh, of course.
They do?
Yeah.
You could just share with with Facebook or other YouTube subscribers?
Basically, there's a lot of ways to do it, right? The main way that you do it is you click the like button.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is, depending on how their channel is set up, anytime they like a video or subscribe to a channel, it shows up on their channel to their viewers saying that, hey, this person liked this channel or subscribed to this channel.
Right. Here, while we're talking about this, there are a lot of people that upload amateurish looking videos as opposed to the kind that you do here, right?
Yeah.
We're doing a more professional approach to videos. They're clear, they're nice, they're cool. Are there any statistics which indicate whether people care whether the quality of the video is really clear or it's taken from an iPhone?
The dynamic seems to be shifting now. Some of the higher end, the top YouTubers, right? For example, are producing higher quality, and they're actually getting more subscribers now at a rate that's never been seen before.
Oh, really?
Right. The top YouTube channel is called Smosh, and it's just two guys that do videos, and they have now surpassed the 10 million subscriber mark.
Wow.
And they literally went, in the last few months, have went from 7 to 8 to 9 to 10 million subscribers in literally months.
In months?
In months.
Wow. What does that do for the potential for somebody to want to sponsor them or advertise on them?
Well, that's the thing, is they're making a living doing that.
Oh, they are?
Oh, yeah, easily. Right. They're making more than enough money to do whatever they want.
So if I had 1 million viewers, Starbucks might want to come to me and sponsor my program.
they might want to do that. Or if you had 1 million viewers on your videos, if you put ads on there, you'd be making a pretty decent income from YouTube ads.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways to go.
There's a lot of different ways to go.
One last question. I'm looking at getting an iPad, and I have a choice between the mini iPad and the larger one. And I have two buddies. Each one of them has, remember Bosco, of course.
Yeah.
Bosco has the larger one, and my other buddy has a smaller one. Each one likes the one they have. The larger one, when I went down to Apple, they seemed to say that if I took videos from the larger one, the picture will be better. The video will be better. Do you know or not?
I don't know the specs on the cameras in those things, so
Right.
I couldn't tell you that. I assumed both of them shoot 1080p.
Right.
Shooting video on the iPad, though, I probably wouldn't recommend it very much.
Shooting video?
Yeah,
At all?
with it, no.
Why?
It's you can get a better video camera for less money than buying an iPad.
But if I'm out there, let's say, doing the show with you is a specific type of structured show. I come in, it's in a great environment, it's videoed at a high quality. But let's say I want to have some videos on my website and on my YouTube channel where I'm having a drink with Mike Zohora, we're having a coffee, chit chat, and all of a sudden we get an insight. And I ask you a couple of questions, and it's a 3-minute video. And I just video using my iPad and upload it to YouTube. Is that a problem?
I'm just the logistics of doing something like that. The iPad is a big piece of tablet, I guess is the best way to put it.
Right.
Right. How are you going to get it standing up so you can record the video?
Well, Bosco showed me that he has a stand.
Oh yeah,
with you.
exactly. You've got to stand, but you got to have the stand a certain distance
Right.
away, and the angle doesn't.
It's a little
change.
complex.
It's a little complex.
Right. So you're saying you might even be better off getting another type of camera
Oh, for sure.
or having someone video you.
Or somebody videotaping you. Yeah.
Right, good.
Yeah, and the cameras now are so inexpensive, and they work so much better than the little tiny sensors that they put in the iPads are so
Right.
small. In low light, the quality is
Right.
not good.
I'm just so excited about this because even my new website that's going to be revamped over the next 30 days is going to have a lot more focus on video and photographs and aliveness. People are tired of just reading stuff,
Well, yeah, exactly.
They want the real thing. A woman came to me for coaching the other day. I said, "How'd you find out about me?" She said, "I've been following your videos."
Yeah.
That's how she knows about
Exactly.
me. Following the video. She likes the videos,
Yep, that's it. And that's exactly it.
Michael Zohora, michaelzohora.com. He's the guy when it comes to YouTube, video, audio. Call him, email him, bug him.
It's MikeZahora.com.
As I said, it's mikezohora.com. I never make a mistake. M-I-K-E, Zahora, Z-A-H-O-R-A.com. Now, we're going to talk about the meat of the topic today. Networking. Every one of you out there in small business land and entrepreneurship, you have to meet people. And I say this every time I do a show. You've got to meet people. You've got to communicate with people. You need to use the phone at times. At times you're invited to a networking event. You're meeting people there. You get up and do a 30, 60-second elevator speech. So we talk a lot about communication. But I want to talk about one aspect of communication that's probably the least sexy part of communication that I would like to call listening and understanding. Many of us have a very hyperactive mind, and we're usually focused on what we want to communicate with other people. So I want to talk about 5 personality types. I want to talk about becoming more aware of the individuals we're meeting out there, wherever we are. And this really relates to personal relationships as much as it is to business relationships, but I'm going to focus a little bit more on the business side. And I'm going to talk about 5, they're not really personality types, but I call them 5 personality types, and you get my point. 5 different types of people with different patterns. And if you focus and become aware of these patterns, you will have a better idea of how to respond to these individuals. Because remember, we're out there, we want to attract clients to us. We want to be effective at communicating with our clients. We want to be able to pique their interest. And part of that is to, as much as possible, size up the client. I don't mean by staring at them and overanalyzing them. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about becoming aware of the individual we are speaking with so that we become more effective at how we're going to take the relationship along. Because remember, it's a relationship selling process. So I want to talk very quickly about 5, I'll call it personality types. Now, you'll probably relate to some of these people. Number 1, Mr. and Mrs. Timid and Shy. Do you know anyone who's timid and shy, Mike?
I know a few.
Few people. So there are some people that you're going to meet in an event, and all of a sudden you're picking up the vibe, and you sense this person is a little meek. They seem somewhat timid. They seem somewhat reserved. They see someone shy. When you notice someone like that, Mike, what do you want to make sure you don't do? I'm just going to test you a little bit. What do you not do with a person like that?
Scare them off
Exactly. How would you scare off someone like that?
by being aggressive and
Exactly. Overwhelming.
Yeah.
You're overwhelming, you're aggressive, you're pushy, and they back off. Now, when someone is timid and shy, and what we call it, timid and shy is just another word of being afraid. If you have a little baby and you go into the room, do you sing them a lullaby to sleep, or do you get aggressive on them? You sing a lullaby. You soothe them. So with Mr. and Mrs. Timid and Shy, whenever I meet someone who is like that, I modulate my voice. Now it's tough for me because I have a loud voice, but I can modulate my voice. I become more soothing. I rein in the emotions. I speak a little bit more softly. I speak a little bit more clearly and articulately. And also, here's another important thing. I also focus a little bit more on myself in a genuine way. Because if someone is timid and shy and they don't want to talk much about themselves, the best way to get them to talk about themselves is if you take charge and share a little bit about yourself. If you become a little bit vulnerable, you share a little story about yourself, you pick up on the fact that they're not going to talk much, no problem. I'll tell you a little bit about something. We haven't seen, you meet at a networking event. John, this is my first networking event at this particular company, organization, in 1 year. And then you shut up and you say, oh, really? How come? Well, I took a sabbatical. I wrote a book. I was kind of going through a change in my life. And I decided that I needed a year off to focus on writing a book. And the person says, oh, really? You write a book? Yeah, I write a book. What's the book about? The book is about... Now you're sharing a little bit about yourself. Guess what? They're feeling more comfortable. They're getting to know a bit more about you. And then within a very short period of time, you might find that they start talking. And by the way, watch out. The ones who are timid and shy, when they start opening the floodgates of communication, may not stop. You might have to stop them. That often happens. So that is Mr. and Mrs. Timid and Shy. Did we cover that one well, Mike?
Yeah.
That clear? Now we've got number 2 personality type. Mr. and Mrs. Macho. Mr. and Mrs. Macho, aggressive types. Mike, I'm going to ask you, what do you think, what's one way you don't want to deal with Mr. and Mrs. Macho?
I've got to think about that one. I'm not sure.
Well, here's an idea. If you're dealing with Mr. and Mrs. Macho and you're very overly timid and shy and meek, they're all over you. If I meet Mr. Army Captain Joe Brown, hi, Joe, nice to meet you. If I meet Joe where he's at, I have to raise my voice and be assertive, then I become, he respects me because I raise the bar and he sees he's talking man to man, woman to woman. Good morning, Mr. Jones. How are you this morning, Mr. Army Captain? I have to assert myself to gain his or her respect. I might also build his confidence a little by saying, wow, you went to Harvard. That's cool. I just saw the diploma on his wall. Lift up his ego a bit. But if I walk in to his office, Mr. Brown says, did you watch the baseball game last night? That's Mr. and Mrs. Timid and Shy getting rolled over by Mr. and Mrs. Aggressive. So if someone is very macho and aggressive, the best approach to that kind of person is to be somewhat assertive and to be someone who's kind of lifting up their ego a little bit. And then you meet them where they're at. And as a matter of fact, those are some of the best people, some of the easiest people to build relationships in a selling process than it is with someone where you don't know where they stand. When someone's that direct, it's often much easier. So that's number 2, Mr. and Mrs. Macho and Aggressive. Number 3 personality type, Mr. and Mrs. Scatterbrained. There are a lot of people whose minds are very scattered, and when you're talking with them, they go off on tangents. You ever meet anyone like that, Mike, where you ask them a question, they start to answer, and then they go off on tangents, and they keep going off on tangents?
I've met a lot of people like that.
I've met a lot of people like that. Do you have any ideas of how to best respond to people like that?
I'm not sure, but
I'm going to give you a tip.
perfect.
Have you ever heard the expression active listening?
Yep.
Okay. Passive listening and active listening. Passive listening is I walk into a trade show or a networking event. I meet a Mr. Michael Zahora, and I'm a people pleaser, and I'm too preoccupied with people think about me. And Michael Zahora is talking my ear off. He's talk. He's scattered. He's going off on tangents. And I'm there, and I'm the victim. And if I'm insecure and afraid of what he thinks about me, guess what? I might be there an hour shaking my head and listening. That's called passive listening.
Okay.
Active listening is when I start to realize that this person is dominating the conversation, has either a big ego or is somewhat narcissistic and self-centered, can't shut his mouth out, is out of control, then I have to step in proactively and guide the conversation back to its core. And I might have to step in and say, whoa, Mike, you got a little bit off track there. Can we get back onto the original question? You might need to steer it, to take the lead proactively to steer it back on track. And if you do that 1 or 2 times, hopefully the person gets the message. If they don't, you certainly don't want to become the victim of listening to someone for an hour when you're there to meet 50 people and you end up walking away meeting 1 or 2 people like that. You don't want that at all. So at some point, I might have to proactively say to you, Mike, I'd love to talk to you, but I made a goal for myself to meet 20 people tonight. I'm doing a lot of networking, but I will get in touch with you. We'll talk soon. I'll send you some information on my website. Take care. Talk to you later. All the best to you and yours. And I'm off and running because I proactively stepped in not to become a victim of your dysfunction. So we've talked about 3 types of personality so far. Mr. and Mrs. Timid and Shy, Mr. and Mrs. Macho and Aggressive, Mr. and Mrs. Scatterbrain. Then you have Mr. and Mrs. Sad and Lonely. Mr. and Mrs. Sad and Lonely. Mike, this is my favorite story, this one here. I heard years ago some motivational speaker was talking about a gentleman named Glenn Turner. Glenn Turner was about 5'6", and he had what's called a hair lip. So when he spoke, there was a kind of a funny sound that came out of his mouth. I think you know what a hair lip is, right, Mike? And he was a salesman. And this guy put 2,000-3,000 people in a room because he was one of the top salespeople, and he started off selling vacuum cleaners, of all things. Now, if you could go door to door selling vacuum cleaners and being successful, would you agree you could pretty well sell anything? So his story was this. He said, ladies and gentlemen, I used to knock on doors selling vacuum cleaners. And I was the kind of guy that had the attitude that when I went to a house and there was this big sign that said, no salesperson here, his attitude was, behind that door is a husband who knows his wife can't say no. And that was the first door he knocked on. So he tells a story of going to an apartment building, and he knocks on a door, and an elderly lady comes to the door, opens the door, and she looked very sad, and he looked at her and said, oh my God. She says, what's wrong? She says, you look so sad. And she said, yes, I am sad. Said, well, why are you so sad? Well, I don't have any family. I don't have any friends. I'm 85 years old. And the only person that I see is once a month when I get my hair done. And he said, that's terrible. I feel so bad for you. And then he asked her questions about her past and her background. She then invited him into her house. And they went on talking for 1 hour and he asked mainly questions and listened. At the end of that hour, the elderly lady said to Glenn Turner, "May I ask, what are you selling exactly?" And he said, "Vacuum cleaners." And he said, "How much?" She said, "How much are you charging for those?" "Well, with all the attachments, it's $750. She pulled out a check, and within 3 months, she had invested $5,000 in buying vacuum cleaners from Glenn Turner. Now, Glenn Turner, as I understand, ended up in prison. But that's another story. We're not talking about his ethics here. We're talking about one little lesson that he teaches all of us. The importance of listening, especially if you meet someone that's not feeling very good. They're down. They're a little sad. They're a little lonely. Then you got to play the therapist a little bit. Instead of laying your trip and talking about you, start to listen. Start to dig. Start to give them space. Start to show appreciation for who they are. And as you ask them a few questions and they start sharing, as they start speaking, they're channeling their own emotions. You heard the expression, laughter is therapy. Well, communication of any kind can be therapy because you're channeling some emotions, good or bad. It's therapy. Guess what? After a bit of time, the person feels more calm, feels more relaxed, and ready to be more receptive to what you have to offer. The fifth and final personality type, ladies and gentlemen, is Mr. and Mrs. Skeptical. Did you ever meet anyone, Mike, where you had a product or a service that was so obvious, so simple to understand, but they were looking at you very suspiciously? You ever meet someone like that? Very skeptically.
Oh, there's a lot of skeptics out there.
Right. So I met many, and these people are incredible because, like if you show me a microwave and you show me that I just have to put my food in there, I press the button, and it works and I eat it, that's all I need to know. But some people will spend hours, if not days, researching the technology of microwaves to figure out whether they want to buy a microwave. By the way, I'm not criticizing these people. I'm just saying there are people like that need to feel comfortable theoretically, analytically. These are the kind of people, before they will buy something, will check out the accreditation of the person. They will check out the technology. Is the technology backed up? Is this health and wellness product have all the sufficient ingredients? And they'll go to the nth degree to make sure that it's right and it's credible. These are the skeptics. Now, when you're dealing with a skeptic, you need to be patient enough to take a bit more time to explain theoretically some of the things that for other people you might not have to. So you need some more patience and you need some knowledge. This is where knowledge does kick in. Creating knowledge about your product or your service, and certainly having information at your fingertips that you could send to them. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope this has helped. We're going to quickly review the 5 types. And why not practice it this week? When you meet people, try to discern, do they fit under the 5? Maybe there's 6 or 7. You can email us. There's probably 10 of them, but I just gave you 5 of the key ones that I'm aware of. Number 1, Mr. and Mrs. Sad. Well, there's Mr. and Mrs. Sad and Lonely. They're Mr. and Mrs. Scatterbrained. They're Mr. and Mrs. Macho, Mr. and Mrs. Timid and Shy, and Mr. and Mrs. Skeptical. If you will take a little bit more time to observe and become aware of who you are talking with, who your prospective client is, or even your current client, take that extra time so that you can then come back and respond more effectively rather than reactively or self-centeredly. You're going to have a lot more success in building long-term, successful, mutually beneficial, not only business relationships, but I can tell you it also works in dating and in personal relationships as well. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show for today. Michael Zahora, thank you so much again for producing the show. Next Thursday, we'll be back with another show at 3 p.m. PST. If you'd like to check out our website, go to www.allannight.com. That's 2 L's A-N, K-N-I-G-H-T.com. You could check out our landing page at nighttalk.com, KNIGHTALK.com, and Twitter us at @nighttalk. Ask us any question you want. Look forward to seeing you all next week. Drive safely and have an amazingly fun, creative, and productive week. Take care. See you soon.